This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. One common thing that you encounter when people criticize a piece of media is a term called creator's intent. Most recently, you hear this a lot with The Lord of the Rings of Power. Many who criticize the show say how a black hobbit or a Latino elf were never intended by J.R.R. Tolkien. Putting my cards on the table, I don't see a whole lot of value in creator's intent when examining a piece of media. There is a separation between art and artist, and how the art is perceived by the audience is honestly more important than what a creator intended with a piece. But also needs to be added, there are absolutely wrong takes a person can have about a piece of media, simply by ignoring the text of that media. One of the clearest examples of this comes from Rags. I don't mean to keep on going back to him, but this is just so blatantly a wrong take.
It shows that Obi-Wan is he's got this streak in him at this point in the OT, where he's willing to kind of stretch the truth to get Luke to kill Vader. That's why Obi-Wan allows himself to die, in a sense. I think when he looks over to Luke before he dies, I think there's an aspect of Obi-Wan who allows himself to be killed by Vader so that it further motivates Luke to kill Vader himself.
Now, there is literally zero text in Star Wars media to point to this. This is literally a theory pulled out of his ass that he feels the need to defend, as if there's any text to defend this. The text doesn't give any firm reason why Obi-Wan dies in A New Hope. So all we have is the obvious reason. What is the obvious reason? Obi-Wan is in a room, separated away from Luke and the rest, as well as the Millennium Falcon. A bunch of stormtroopers stand between them. If Obi-Wan kills Vader in this moment, Luke will literally risk everyone's life to try to save him. By dying in this moment, Obi-Wan makes everyone else's choice clear. They have no reason to stay once he is dead. So they need to run away as fast as possible, which gives them the best chance of survival. Obi-Wan dies to give everyone else the best chance to live. This is the obvious read, and there is no evidence to suggest that there is any other motivation for Obi-Wan to sacrifice himself. This is one of many examples that I've gone over on my channel about how people just misread media. But while creator's intent, while less important than the text, also adds more to the reading of the text if you are interested.
Now, in A New Hope, Ben tells Luke that Vader killed his father. But then in Empire, Vader tells Luke the truth. So why did Obi-Wan lie to Luke? Well, the real answer is that he didn't. George didn't know that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker in Episode 4. It was first when he was writing Empire that he came up with the idea. So now for Return of the Jedi, it presented a problem. What could be the in-universe reason for good, noble Ben not telling Luke the truth? Should Lucas attempt to answer it, or just drop Kenobi from the last movie? Well, let's find out, shall we? Oh, and by the way, the people he's speaking to, respectively here, are his director, producer, and writer. Lucas says, "We also have to cope with another problem. Ben. How do we deal with Ben? We have to deal with Ben, even to the point of using Alec Guinness in one more ghost scene. I'll get him to do it somehow. We have to do what is right for the plot and the story. Why did Ben not tell Luke? In the early script, I wrote that he wasn't ready to be told." Marquand says, "Well, I think that is true. If Luke had known, he wouldn't have become a Jedi and he wouldn't have been able to deal with it." Marquand says, "I think that is absolutely true. That's the most practical reason why." Howard Kazanjian says, "He probably wouldn't have learned in the same manner." For a lot of people, there's a big issue there, which we can't skirt around. Marquand says, "The fact that Ben lied? The fact that Ben lied, but he didn't really lie. He didn't really lie, because in the first film he says that Vader betrayed and murdered his father, which doesn't necessarily mean that he killed him, but that the bad Vader half of the person betrayed the good part of the person, the Skywalker half."
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
By far, one of the most interesting cases as far as bad reads that have really taken hold is The Matrix. Director Lily Wachowski has revealed that the idea behind The Matrix has always been a trans allegory. This one had been most prominent in the original script with the character of Switch. Originally, the character of Switch was meant to be played by a man in the real world and a woman in the Matrix world. In the movie, people are given the chance to take the red pill and be shown the real world, or take the blue pill and just stay in the Matrix. Fans theorize red was chosen because of pre-Marin, a common part of male-to-female transition therapy used in the 90s. However, since Switch was changed by the studio to make the allegory less clear, the right wing have chosen to use the Matrix as an example of a right-wing message saying that red, aka Republican, pill will show you the truth, while the blue, aka Democrat pill, will feed you lies. Now, to use this reading with the rest of the movie does not hold water. Throughout the movie, there is a theme of breaking away from what is expected. The Matrix and the avatars of the system, the agents, push Neo into working in the system he is used to. Morpheus, Trinity, and the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar encourage him to follow his own path. The text of this reads as: the red pill represents progress and freedom. The blue pill represents tradition and oppression. So breaking down the whole movie into red equals right wing and truth and blue equals left wing and false is a complete failure to understand the text of the movie. However, you take the scene with Morpheus and Neo and the pills in a vacuum and simply assume red and blue just mean basic political affiliations, and suddenly the right-wing reading of this scene unfortunately holds some water. It's the wrong read that goes against artist intent, but a read that many have taken hold of. This brings us to another interesting situation, since much of the right-wing narrative now seems to be that people need to be more subtle weaving their politics into stories, and instead, as time goes by, they've gotten more brazen. It's worth noting this is actually true. Though it's also worth noting that big budget projects never get as brazen as I'd prefer, or as the right wing makes them out to be. But there is definitely a drive away from being more subtle. Why is this? Because when you get subtle, people misread your intention. Do you think the Wachowskis are happy their fantastic trans allegory movie from 1999 is currently a meme used by the right wing to literally fight against left ideas like trans rights? Of course not. It's never been said outright, but it seems clear part of the point of The Matrix Resurrections was to take the franchise back from the right. No matter your thoughts on that movie, it does make its pro-women, pro-trans stances more clear in many ways.
We worked for years trying to activate your source code. I was about to give up when I realized
Trinity.
it was never just you.
So, does artist intent matter? The correct answer is both yes and no. Sorry if you're looking for a clear-cut answer, but that wouldn't be correct. The nuances matter. To make it more clear, if you watch a movie or read a book or literally have any piece of media, your relationship with that media is important to you. And any reading you take away from it can be true to you. But to be true in general, you also have to use evidence from the media to back up your claims. If the media's text does not back up your reading, then at best you have some headcanon or fan fiction. Artist intent doesn't necessarily tell you what a piece of media is about, but it can give you guideposts, or at least let you know what they are shooting for. After all, learning what was intended in a piece of media can be an interesting way to look about it. But what do we know of artist intent when sadly the artist has passed? We lost Stan Lee in 2018. And we quickly saw sites like Geeks and Gamers and Eric July try to claim he was a right-winger. Interesting how they waited until he died to make these bold claims. But soon, we'll be doing a dive into Stan Lee's history and ask the question, what was his intent with many of his comic book creations?
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.